You're listening to the world's smartest podcast network.
When I go to Sacramento, I will pump up Sacramento.
Some say the news is fake. Others say it's real. These two don't have the time to check. Instead, Turner Sparks and Michael Ira Kaplan turn to comics stationed around the globe to be their eyewitness reporters so that you can know what's really going on. This is Lost in America.
All right, everybody, welcome to Lost in America, episode 220. My name's Turner Sparks.
I am Miguel Kaplan.
You can find me at turnersparks.com. Buy my album, Turner Sparks, live from the Friars Club. Available now on the internet. Also, I'll sign a copy of it and mail it to you. How about that for customer service? Kaplan, you can find him at Cap in America on Instagram. This show is at lostinamericapod.com, Lost in America Pod on Instagram, lostamericapod.com. Buy our merch. We got t-shirts. We were just telling our guest off air. We went to #1 in Armenia.
Yeah, we got these mugs.
And when you do it, you got to make mugs. You got to make t-shirts. You got to celebrate yourself. Celebrate your wins. That's what they say. Those therapists.
When we book a guest, they get in the room. They're not sure if they should do our pod. We got to say, you're in the right place. This is a #1 in Armenia podcast. So
it's #1.
Yeah, this is #1. You don't want to do those. You don't want to do #2 in Armenia. So
we got nowhere to go but down in Armenia.
Exactly.
This is the second half of the VH Run Behind the Music. You know, they're like, they were at the top. They didn't think anything could go wrong. And then it's car crashes and drug overdoses. And that's us in Armenia.
Idea. Yeah.
Coming very soon. Kaplan, on the podcast today, we have the great Danny Boy-Rivera out of Madrid, España. How about that?
Look at that. You hit that.
I hit that.
Now I'll say that R thing with the thing on top.
This is not Mexican Spanish. This is Spanish we're dealing with here.
So okay. Look at this expert.
Multiple, when they conjugate verbs, they don't just do 5 conjugations. They have 6, if I remember from elementary school Spanish class.
You got a better education. My Spanish, did they not teach us there was a difference? They just taught us.
Between Mexican Spanish and Spanish?
They didn't say anything about. I don't think we even learned how to conjugate a verb. I don't know. What year is that in? So.
Ay. Arriba.
All I know how to say is que lástima. Means what a pity.
Kaplan, what I have to say to you, que mala suerte. If that's all you learned, que mala suerte. Kaplan.
And I remember when we went to Spain together, we used to say, "Donde está es chicas más faciles?" That's what
we did say.
Where are the easy girls? We would ask every taxi cab driver. It doesn't translate. They would say, easy isn't universal.
I was 18. You were 22. We took a great trip with your brother and my brother, of course, around the great country of España. And little did we know that 20 years later, we'd be doing a podcast about it. Kaplan, what we're talking about today is See, here's how little I know about it. I don't know if it's called Catalan or Catalonia. But before we get to that, so Danny Boy-Fernandez is a comedian based out of Spain. He's going to explain it to us, everything in that regard. But before we get to that, Kaplan, how do people support this show? Because we know everyone loves the show. They tell us our numbers are going up and up and up still every single week, every single month. I look back at our numbers from like 4 months ago. We've quadrupled our audience since then. Very cool. So how do people, this is a free show. We're giving it to them for free. How do they support us?
I mean, that's a crime. We're giving it to them for free. So to people, they should reward us for this by going to patreon.com/LostInAmerica. and subscribing to our Patreon program that we have. We do a Patreon show. First of all, you could just give us money on Patreon without ever listening to our program, just because this show right here is so good.
$10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you want. You know, support the arts.
$10 a month will get you a T-shirt with that Lost in Armenia emblem that we showed with the coffee.
Not Lost in Armenia, #1 in Armenia.
I mean, #1 in Armenia. #1 in Armenia.
Yeah.
But for $5 a month, you're getting 3 episodes a week of our full throttle comedy experience, where it's just our lives in quarantine and in New York City. And I've got, I had a mom today texting me very upset about the school situation. She knows I'm running for city council in Long Island City. She wants me to start raising hell I'm going to be talking about that on the show this week.
That's a big part of the show now is Kaplan's run for city council in Long Island City, New York, running against lamer Jimmy Van Bramer.
Lamer Bramer. We're getting around the fairness doctrine. We do not have to give equal time on a Patreon show. The FCC ruled. Come here. Come to my campaign rallies, but they're fun campaign rallies, just like President Trump's.
That's where we do it, Cap. So anyway, support us that way. Cal, now to this episode.
Back to Spain.
What we're talking about is we noticed, it was in the paper the other day, that, hey, they had an election in Catalonia.
Catalonia.
And in that election, they said, the parties in favor of the separatist parties who want to separate Catalonia from Greater Spain, they've now won a majority of the seats in the parliament. So maybe soon that'll become its own country. And I don't know what you did, but I went, whoa, hold up a second. Yeah. I didn't even know they wanted to be another country.
No, I thought the whole point, we mentioned we went to Spain together. When we were in Barcelona, you got everything's in English and it's in Spanish and then it's in some other language.
Yeah, a bunch of loops and squiggles.
Yeah, and then you learn, because you want to be a blowhard at an early age, it's Catalan. So if you're ever in a art museum with a girl, you can impress her that there's another language here.
They speak. Actually, did you know they speak Catalan?
They speak Catalan. Yeah, they don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, in Barcelona.
They know as much Spanish as me. They just say "que lástima," then they speak. So I thought it was just that. It was just a language and a little cultural thing. And they wanted to be difficult. I didn't think all these independence movements around the world, like Scotland or anything, Puerto Rico. I never think they're going to actually become an independence thing. I always think they're going to stay part of the country. I didn't know it was even an option until we saw this news that they were voting on to separate. So
no, they were not voting to separate. That's where you got it wrong. They were not, Cap. They were voting the parties. Exactly. Even I know that. I at least read the article.
Oh no, but you're right. They were voting to support the parties.
Support the parties, and the parties are in favor of separation. We did do dug a little research, and we found out in 2017 that's when it was a big vote to separate.
So a referendum.
I want to find out where we are. Like, is this something that's been going on a long time? Are you and I late to this party? Let's bring Danny Boy-Rivera. Danny Boy-Rivera.
We need a cause. I want to get involved in a cause if it's a good one. So let's bring him in.
So Danny, how did we do there?
How you doing, guys?
Set us straight. Thank you. Welcome to the show. First of all, I should say, if you guys want to, Danny's a great comedian. As we said, out of Spain. He has a ton of stuff you can look up on YouTube. Millions of views. If you speak Spanish, which you should. If you grew up in America and you're not Kaplan, most people learn some version of Spanish. Danny, follow him on Instagram, Danny Boy-Rivera, at Danny Boy-Rivera on Instagram. Performs all over Europe. Danny, welcome to the show.
How are you doing, guys?
Very well. How are you?
I love to talk about this. I love to talk about this with people that are so outside as you.
Yes. So what? Because we knew the Basque. We know the Basque thing. You meet someone from Basque country and you go, oh, so you're from Spain? And no. I am not from Spain. I am from Basque country. And we know they have a big issue with that. But
I thought that was the same thing, frankly. I thought these were the same people, to be honest.
Kaplan didn't know that Catalan and Basque were two different places. I did know that.
Yeah, you're a little more cultured.
But not much, because I didn't know that Catalan was trying to separate. What's the history of this separation thing?
Well, first of all, Spain is a multinational country. It is not a one nation country.
Yes.
There are a lot of regions with strong identities and with their own culture. Some of them, you said the Basques or Catalonians, or Galician is another region.
Yes.
Where they have their own language too. So Spain is kind of a union of all these little countries, you could say.
Wow.
And yes, they have their own. Even they have the president of their own region, and it's a state very decentralized. You say.
So
Spain is not centralized. Like, for example, France. Paris says something. All France that's the order.
Whatever Macron says goes.
A lot of rights. So they have their own education, or maybe they are able to almost be autogovern, or they have their own government
Autonomous.
autonomy.
Yeah.
Yes, they are called the autonomous communities, and Catalonia is one of them. But there are a lot, not just Basques and Catalonians.
They all want to separate, or just those two?
How
They
many
don't
are
want to
there?
separate because the question is not in the table, but when the problem comes, like economical problems, like with the crisis, some of the populism come to some places and say, hey, we would be better if we just break up with this.
Okay.
And that's it. I mean, you have chauvinism too. Chauvinism.
Chauvinists? Yeah.
Chauvinism. Every region
Not
of
us.
Spain has its own pride. And if it comes to, a battle between my own land and the union, okay, then I'm on the side of my land. But the question is not made by the people, but politicians who are prosecuted for corruption, and they are trying to cover up with all this kind of bullshit. Is people don't go to vote. They have like an abstention, a great abstention, because it's like a question that a lot of Catalonians didn't even want to answer, like, okay.
Yeah, as you said, I read that in the vote last week, which I don't even totally understand what it was for, but in the vote last week, only 54% of people voted. Now in America, that's a good number because most of our people have been disillusioned with politics a long time ago. But I read that in Spain, usually like 75, 80% of people vote. And this time only 54% voted.
And a lot
So-
left to blanker.
Can we start with what is... So first of all, actually, here's the starting point. You said there's many states within Spain all having their own culture, their own language, their own president even?
Yes, and most of them even more uncommon from the typical Spanish, thing that you have in mind with a Spanish.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, people from the Canary Islands. If
The
you go
Canary
to
Islands. Yeah.
the Canary Islands, they are even closer. Their accent is like Caribbean.
Okay, yeah.
From the Caribbean. You go to Galicia, it's almost Portuguese, or you go to Asturias and they have another way of talking, another, how do you say that?
Another accent
culture,
or
yes.
dialect
Culture
or
and-
language. Yeah.
Traditions.
Traditions. Sure.
They
So
all like to party, though, it seems, from my experience.
It's a country made of countries.
Yes.
yes. And they
Country
have
made- it's-
their own, when you say their own president, is it like how in the US we have governors of our states, but actually our president is above, the president of the United States is above the governors? Is
Yes, that would be
similar?
our president. That would be Pedro Sanchez now.
Yes,
is
Pedro
the
Sanchez.
president of Spain. And I think that what happens with this is that even the beginning of Spain as a country, it was made of a battle against Muslims. There are all these different kingdoms who get united against one enemy.
Is that the Ottoman Empire or am I off base?
The Muslims, they conquer Spain a lot of
Yes.
time ago.
Yes.
And then we have they call
Moors.
it reconquer.
The Moops?
That is like we get the country back to
Yes, I
Christianism.
see. Okay.
They had
That
an
idea
Inquisition
was
at one
the
point.
beginning
That
of
was,
Spain and the beginning of all these unions.
Mm-hmm.
Now with time the enemy vanished, and now the union is another thing. It's just like a lot of different people living in the same country, and it's great for most of us that variety. That
Yeah. What else was so, and let's just establish early what is Catalonia, because I saw even part of it goes into France, right?
Yes, there are some part of South France where they speak Catalonian, and also in the north of Cerdeña, an island,
Mm-hmm.
Cerdeña, who belongs to Italy.
Yep.
They
And then there's-
speak north of that island. They speak Catalonian too. And in Valencia, they talk Valencian, who is very similar to Catalonian, have the same roots, So that belongs to a part of one of those kingdoms who get united. That was the kingdom of Aragon. The other big one was Castilla.
Okay.
They get together. Was a marriage with two kings, and since then, a lot of centuries, we are mixing up ones with another. In Barcelona, there are a lot of people from a lot of Spain living there.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's like a big city. People move from other parts of the country to that place.
So
everyone mixes together.
The independence movement is winning in the outside, in the country where there are not a lot of people from the rest of Spain.
I see. Okay.
That's what I was wondering about Barcelona, because, I can't imagine how Barcelona would separate from the rest of the country.
No, in Barcelona, they don't win because there are a lot of people that are from everywhere.
Yeah,
Not just Spain. I mean, Barcelona is a city with people from every corner of the world, and they don't want to be separate from anywhere, from Europe or Spain or whatever,
And you're in Madrid. You're in the capital of the nation. The country's capital is in Madrid. Is Madrid also part of its own?
I'm actually Galician. I'm actually from one of these.
Okay.
I'm actually from one of these regions where we have this language. This is the same as Portuguese. They were the same language a long time ago. Galician and Portuguese is the same root.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I don't know that.
We have
That's a good
lot
blowhard
of
fact.
history in common. In fact, our first capital was Oporto, that now is in Portugal. And it was the first capital of Galicia. I mean, it's like one part of the north of Portugal. If you see the map, it should be Galicia, but it's in Spain. A lot of time ago, they broke.
Yeah, this for everyone listening right now, it really helped me yesterday to get out a map and just put in like what is Catalonia, what is the Basque Country, what is Galicia, and that was like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I can map it together in my head.
Okay, Catalonia is a county inside the Kingdom of Aragon.
Okay.
Look at that.
Okay, you have the Kingdom of Aragon, and then you have the county of Catalonia.
And now, I guess let's start with, why do they want to leave? Why? I know you said not everyone in Catalonia wants to leave Spain, but the people who do want to leave Spain, what's their reason?
I think that some of the reasons, there are a lot of people who are Republican, for example, they are against the king. A lot of them, they don't really want to break up with Spain, but they want to break up with monarchy, They don't want to be in with the king anymore, It's like.
But does the king have any power? Or
not really? He has, but he doesn't use it. It's like he could if he wanted, but no, it's just for pictures and it's nothing.
Nobody talks about the Spanish king over here. The American women who love royal family in England. Nobody ever talks about. I forgot you even had a king, so you brought it up.
Yeah, they don't. Not a lot of publicity in the United States.
You gotta get a better PR department. That kingdom.
Yes, we do have a king. It's kind of similar, like with the British.
Similar system.
It's kind of a charade. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, charade. Same.
Yeah, that's it.
So if the king makes no difference, why do they want to leave a country that has a king if the king has no power, no real power, or doesn't use them?
No real power, but it's symbolic. Most of them remember we have, Franco, dictatorial thing. And, he was very monarchic, and a lot of people who support those kind of ideas, they tempt to be with the king, So the king became the symbol of this kind of authoritarism, led from Madrid to all Spain. Everyone is Spanish, not Catalonian or Galician. So it is associated to these kings because they come, they are Bourbons. They come from France. And France, as I told you, is a very centralistic country. And when we changed the dynasty and the Bourbons came to Spain, they wanted to do the same here. And you cannot do that here because we are so different that you cannot tell them that suddenly all of these difference vanish, you know?
Yeah. And just to get the timeline right from my research, it looks like the Bourbon dynasty, the people you're talking about who came down from France, that started in the 1850s. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. And then in 1938,
there was a civil war.
Francisco Franco won, right?
Yes.
The Spanish Civil War. And he ruled from 1938 until 1975 as a dictator.
A lot of years, yes.
Yeah, as a dictator.
Crazy.
And when he left, I don't know if he died or how did he leave in 1975. However it ended, Catalan from that point started to think of maybe we should be our own country. Is that right?
Franco, he tried to supreme the languages. For example, where Franco was, you couldn't speak Catalonian in the official ways, you know, maybe in your house, but not when you are
only
doing
Spanish.
Job. Only Spanish, you know, that was the old times.
Yep.
So when Franco died, we tried to create, and we have a new constitution. And that constitution says that every region has its rights, its autonomy, and you know, we cannot go back to that. So now we have in Spain a lot of people who say that we should break, and a lot of people who thinks that we should go back to those old times. And I just want to be just we were yesterday.
How was it yesterday?
All together getting along, you know?
Yes. Well, and also we should say that this is a story, but here's my question. Because if you read, frankly, I'll just tell you, first we read the New York Times, and the New York Times said that the vote last week, they said, oh, this is a big deal because now more than 51% of the representatives in Catalonia want Catalonia to be a different country, right? They said that's so big. And then if you read most any other newspaper or like The Economist magazine or other outlets,
worldwide sources.
Yeah, worldwide sources, they say the opposite. They go, oh, actually that vote last week, we were expecting the separatists to be more popular, and they weren't as popular as they were hoping. So this might actually mean that the separatist movement is dying. So what do you think? What's true? Is the New York Times true or the other people?
I don't think it's dying because they have a lot of support. There's a lot of people who are very angry. And I think that the central government overreacted to this, overreacted.
Okay.
And now there is a lot of pain, and a lot of families from there, they break from the middle. They don't talk to each other, you know, between cousins or even brothers, you know, because I want to be in Spain, you don't, and that means that we cannot be friends anymore. All this this fracture that is made so deep that we cannot think that this is going to be healed like in 1 year or two. This is going to be long because there are a lot of people who just hate between them, you know.
Wow.
It was this. I just said that when you make a question that it assumes like that there is a line that breaks a territory between ones and others. You know, when you begin to use the word the others, is the Catalonians and then the others. All that populism, of course, you can sell it, of course, and people are going to buy it when they are in a crisis or whatever, and that's what happened in Catalonia. They were in a crisis, and they are rich. They are a rich area of Spain, and they say, "Well, let's just get out. We are not in
the rest of them."
But you know, all of the people who made this money in Catalonia, they came from all of Spain too. You know, they are not Catalonians. So there is a lot of people now in Catalonia that they live here because they are living there, but they are from another regions who said, what is this? I came here because we have a constitution that says that we are all the same in all the territory. So a fraction that voting is not legal in Spain because we cannot, how do you say, let a segregation, a human segregation of a territory. You know, we're all mixed. That's the real thing.
What's interesting with this story is a lot of times when you hear about separation or seceding from a country, our mind, for some reason, I think Kaplan, we talked about before,
the
is
oppressed
the same.
people.
We tend to think like, oh, these are the poor people. These are the oppressed people. And they want to escape because the government hates them. In this case, it's the opposite. The Catalonians are the rich, the wealthy, and they want to leave Spain because they think, from what I can read, economically, they think they're supporting the rest of the country.
Spain's dragging them down, kind of.
And Spain's dragging them down.
That's not every independent would say that. You know, that's not fair saying that.
Okay.
A bunch of them would say that. Another one says they don't even care. They just don't want to be in Spain. They don't mind if they are poorer or richer. They just are tired of this enfrentamiento, I say. This fight. You know, they are tired of the fight and they just want to go. But yes, there are a lot of people who think that they will be richer. They think if they're very, maybe it's true, but it's unfair too. You know?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's all one place. So we've been referencing
Madrid, for example, is even richer than Catalonia. But you know, it's ridiculous thinking about Madrid, we go. What happens to all of the people because they made all of these industries in Madrid. Because it was in the middle, it was a good idea. But those people were from all of Spain. And now we say, hey, right here where the money is, we go out.
We're gone. Yeah.
We could do that in America, like in New York, or be like, oh, let's just cut off the South, or we're richer.
Well, the places in America that talk, like, you know, Texas jokes about it all the time. I think some people are probably more serious than others, but it's not going to happen. But if you go to Texas, they're like, we should just leave. We're better than all these idiots. And the same in California. I mean, California is like...
California was kind of, because they said that maybe if they leave, they are like the fourth economy in the world or something like
blah,
that.
blah, blah. I grew up in California. Great people, but
great people.
Not everybody can be a tech guy. You know, you can't run a whole country off only tech people. Someone has to farm and stuff.
Oh, they have movies too. So, but yeah.
You're right. They got movies. We've been referencing, you've been bringing up this fight and people are tired of fighting and all that stuff. And I want to get to that. I want to go backwards about 10 years in Spain's history and work our way back up to now with this separatist movement. But before that, Kaplan, let's get a word from our local sponsor. All right, we're back. How smooth is that, Cap?
Yeah, beautiful. I love it.
I'm becoming a real professional broadcaster.
Sounds like it's a radio show here now.
Someone has to take over for Larry King, you know?
Exactly.
So why not be us?
Or Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, the Maharishi.
Yes. He had a lot of thoughts.
A lot of the greats have died recently. Yeah. So Danny, if we go back, where did this...
Are you okay with this?
Yes, I love it.
Of course.
It adds a little European flair for our people who aren't watching on video. Nice little smoke.
Tell him what happened. Tell him what he's doing, Cap.
Well, what are you smoking over there? What is that?
Oh, this is a sativa, a very good one. Sativa.
What's sativa?
Marijuana.
Oh, it's a type of marijuana.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. I didn't realize. I thought it was like a clove cigarette. I don't know why.
It looks hand rolled.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in my kid's bedroom, so I have very innocent eyes right now.
Okay. Sorry.
No,
guys.
It's okay. He's not watching. So.
Yeah, that's great. So here's the question. So going back, like, when did this, it seems like maybe about 10 years ago, 2009, 10, 11, 12, this like separation movement really, because obviously in 1975, Franco's gone and people in Catalonia are like, maybe we shouldn't be part of this thing, but it didn't seem to do much until really 2009, 10, 11, 12. What happened that caused this separation movement to come back?
The economic crisis,
2008
crisis came, and we have to cut a lot of, like all of the countries in Europe. In Europe, they have to cut a lot of public, services.
Yep.
And in Catalonia, this people said, if we were independent, we wouldn't have to cut off this. We are cutting off services because in other regions of Spain, they need money because this is a crisis. I think it's just terrible, but I think that seduced a lot of people who were just done having a great time too in Catalonia, because the crisis was there too.
Yep.
And they thought, well, maybe this is selfish, but I have to think about myself too, my family, and they went to this idea of, okay, let's get out. Let's just improve this because Spain is going down and we are all going with it,
Yeah.
We have a chance here.
And then, go ahead.
That was the discurso. How do you say the discuss? The
Discussion.
The discussion.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people said, okay, all of the products that we sell is like the 80% is bought by the rest of Spain. If we leave, if we reject them, who are we going to sell this?
Of course.
Thought of ourselves.
This is like a miniature version of Brexit with England.
Every one of these is this. They should run a deal with trade deal just with England and Catalan. Okay.
And then
they sell each other.
Well, then that also brings up, I read the EU, the European Union said that if Catalan secedes and becomes its own country, the EU will not recognize it. Right.
Right. They won't be part of a member.
Maybe they could, but they wouldn't recognize it as a member of the European.
Okay.
I think they would recognize it, but then they would say, okay, you have a lot of tests with a lot of years in front of you to get in the union. And that's another thing that economists say, this is not a good idea, because if we are out of Spain and out of Europe, that's crazy. But again,
who do you sell to?
There's a fracture.
Them in England, they form a...
People just go crazy and they go like kamikazes,
Sure. Kill it, burn it all down.
It's like, okay, so you are telling me that I am not right? No, that couldn't be,
Yeah.
I'm so sure of this. And now it's like kind of an ego thing between half and half. It's crazy.
So then that's 2010, 11, 12. It's a discussion, but pretty soon by 2017, they decide to have a vote, right?
Yes.
That's the referendum.
And what happens then? That's what Kaplan was talking about earlier. That's the referendum. Now, this referendum is not recognized by Spain. The country of Spain is not allowing this referendum to happen. They're just doing
super
it
secret ballot
on their own, right? So what happens there?
It's because that's the law that we have that, we are different, but not with the law. We are all equal. So this kind of segregation is not legal because, and it has to be voted by all of the country, not by Catalonia. I don't mean that we have to vote in Galicia if Catalonians should leave, but we should vote if it is legal to vote. Do you understand? Because then a lot of regions would say, okay, then I can go too, or whatever. It's like the same rules to everyone. So they broke that rule, and a lot of problems. Now they are in jail. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's, I think what you're saying is I did read. So the Constitution in Spain does not recognize the right to self-determination. And that means it doesn't allow people to decide, okay, we're not part of Spain anymore. So
no.
It's like, we'll tell you when you're not part of Spain
If
anymore.
they wanted to have that vote to not be a part of Spain, as you're saying, Danny, there first needed to be a vote. Are they allowed to have that vote to not be out of Spain?
They have to convince the rest of the regions that we must break up. So, and if all of the regions say, okay, let's do a lot of elections, I don't know, in the regions who may or may not go. But while this rule is there, we cannot jump jump it? You said?
Sure, yeah, you can't skip the rule. So they didn't do that. They just decided in 2017 to have their own vote. They voted to secede, to leave, to be a different country. And then their party leaders said, okay, we're a different country now.
Yes.
And then you tell us what happens next. What happened right then?
What happened is that the people who went to vote were the only ones who wanted to leave, because the other ones, the ones who would vote no, they stayed at home because the television said this is illegal, stay at home. If you are not with this, just don't go because it's not legal. And so they win like 90%. They said we win by 90%, but we said, oh, okay, but that's because it's illegal. So just you go to vote, you and your friends. Okay, but it's 90%. And with this 90%, we declare the independence. So that's illegal because an autonomous community don't have that power. That power is only from the center, the whole country, the parlamento. How do you say parlamento?
Yeah, the parliament.
The parliament.
The parliament.
Yeah.
The parliament of Spain. That's the one who has the power to break or not the country, not one of the regions.
And at the voting booths, I mean, were police there? I read police were arresting some people who were voting and stuff like that. Was that happening?
Spanish police? Is that how?
I don't know. I don't think they arrest them for voting, but there was a lot of struggles.
Intimidating them.
I mean, there was
Violence?
kind of violence.
Yeah.
I want to point out we have some real contrarians there because they went to vote in an illegal election, could have been arrested, you're saying, and they still voted no. So they didn't, because you're saying 90% voted yes.
There's 10%.
10% are like doubly a contrarian. We're like, we're still going to vote in this illegal election, but we're going to vote no for you.
We're going to vote to stay in an election that doesn't count. So then what I was getting to was once they voted to leave and their leaders said, ha, we're leaving, then the Spanish government came after them to the point where those political leaders some of them left the country, right?
Yeah.
And the ones who didn't leave the country got arrested for sedition, for like trying to overthrow the government, for being a traitor, basically.
They were like the week before they get in prison, they were like in Twitter with the notifications of the constitutional court.
Yep.
And making selfies like
their lectern.
I don't care. But those papers said that they were breaking the law, and that they were important papers, and they were in the dream of, we are not Spain anymore. Look at this. I'm laughing at this.
Yes.
Like I don't know what they expected to happen, but
you're right, Kaplan. It's like the lectern.
It's like the Capitol insurrection that we just had, where the people took pictures of themselves
storming
breaking
the U.S. Capitol. Now, the one thing though, so this did seem to, when their leaders had to leave the country, or the ones who didn't leave the country went to prison, this really seemed to popularize their movement, because then in 2018. 1 million people marched in the streets in support of seceding, right?
Because this is very sad. This shouldn't have ended like this, with people in jail when they were so much advised, like, please stop. Even the same day they did the declaration, the president of Spain asked them, please don't do this, because we don't have, I mean, the law is the law. We are a government. We cannot.
Rules is rules, as they say.
Yes, we cannot stop the judges saying, this is so beautiful, let them go. We cannot do that. I mean, the
Supreme Court will decide what the law says.
So the Constitutional Court said, okay, this is illegal. Take those men. They are going to jail, because it's a crime in Spain to try to segregate an area. I don't I don't really care about this rule.
Yeah.
I care about the friends stop being friends, man, and the
Stop
climax.
being friends. I mean, that happened.
People
yeah,
who are losing friends over politics.
that happened
basically.
here, I think, right?
And families broken because of this stupid thing that is a cover up for corrupts. And
Well,
all of these leaders are all stealing a lot
Corrupt.
of money.
So tell us
You know,
more about
there's
that.
There's more serious things.
If that's the real story, tell us more about that. What is the corruption here?
Well, even the men who began this, Pujol is one of them.
What's his name?
He's one of the biggest corrupt guys in the history of Spain, who more robbed. And this guy is like who began this movement in Catalonia, and all of the guys who were after him were more like the same. And now they are going to court, a lot of them, for these problems, not problems with the independence, but problems with corruption, you know?
Was it Cujo? Is that what you said his name is?
Pujol?
Oh, Pujon. Yeah.
Oh,
What's
that's
his?
an all-time guy, a politician.
No, the
who
guy
began
you
to-
just said was the corrupt.
Who began to? Yes, it was a big.
What corruption
did he do?
specifically? What are the stories?
like I don't know, thousands of millions of euros lost that he kept to his family. You know, his kids. One of them is in the parliament of Catalonia, or was before. It's like a family of Sicilians. I don't know how to say that. You know,
Yeah.
like a corrupted family with a lot of power in Catalonia. For example, a lot of these families that had a lot of economic interest in that, they started this populist movement that I can say that it would succeed in any other part of Spain if you promise them that they are better alone. You know, it's a message that you can sell to any other part of Spain.
Right.
I could think that.
Yeah. What's his name again? Sorry, I missed it the first time.
Pujol,
How do you
Jordi
spell?
Pujol,
What's it?
JORDIPUYOL.
Yeah. Jordi Pujol.
That's it.
Ah, got it. I got it. Okay, cool. Jordi Pujol. Got
That
it.
is like Torquato, the one in.
Yeah, he's a political career. Let's see, president of Catalonia. I'm looking him up right now.
Is he currently the president, or he
No. A lot of time ago. This is like the old times of
the
this.
old the old school days of
The old school
corruption?
days.
and-
1980 to 2003. But he's also the
glorious.
leader of the independence movement. You're saying?
No, not now.
No, is it the
Not
CIU party? Is that his?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now in the present time, he is not. He is a part of all of this. You know, I'm talking about the beginning of this movement.
I see.
but
Yeah.
not now.
So the beginning of this movement was this guy he had done a lot of corruption, he had done a lot of crime, and so people didn't focus on him. He said the problem is Spain, and we need to
Yes.
leave Spain. And has that stayed through? Are these like you said the real story is the corruption, not the movement?
I think so, but also in Spain, it's the story of my country. I don't know what happens with my country, but it's a pity that we have this problem like from centuries.
Okay.
And it's corruption.
Corruption.
And it's in Catalonia, in Madrid, in Galicia, everywhere. And
So you
a
have
lot of
more
the
in
problems
common
that
than you don't.
seem to be ethnical or cultural, and are really economic problems between these guys. You know.
Yeah. So in 2017, when those people all went to prison, one of them left the country and then became part of the EU government, right?
Yes.
What was his name? I forget.
Puigdemont.
Puigdemont. Okay.
Puigdemont.
So-
Yes,
And-
he
Outlaw, but how would
And
Spain allow
now
that?
these guys. So then at that seemed to trigger more support for their movement.
But
Is
now
that true?
I've read that the European Parliament is trying to remove you know that the people from the parliament, they cannot be put in a court, how you say, or process them.
Yes.
Prosecuted in the international, you mean, or?
Yes, they are trying to quit that from Puigdemont so he can be judged in Spain. They are
so basically, if Puigdemont, if he leaves office, if he leaves his post in the EU government, then he can be tried for sedition in Spain. But as long as he's part of the EU, as long as he's part of the EU government, he cannot.
He gets immunity there. It's like a loophole.
Yes, that's it. Immunity. That's what I meant. So they are trying to remove the immunity of Puigdemont so he can be processed.
But he's just being prosecuted for holding an illegal election. There's no violence like the Basques. I know in the past.
Sedition, Kaplan. I mean, that's not nothing.
But is it sedition? It's not. I don't know. It's not like I don't. But the term sedition is a loose interpretation, I guess.
But that's what they have on them. And if
they don't have an army. But they don't have like a physical army that would force them to be separate, right? I mean, they don't have like. There's
yes,
no
it was most because of the violence and the confrontation that went to the streets, and that movement was a lot of sad for the people, and there were a lot of violence in the streets that was because of all of this.
Like they inspired violence, is what you're saying.
So, I don't think they are inspiring violence, but if you just say in a region that is mixed of people that we are the ones who own this land,
sounds familiar.
Like ethnically,
right? It's our land, nationalists
are the others, and we have to be separated because these guys are. It's like xenophobia. You said.
Xenophobia,
yeah.
You were telling us earlier your English is not very good, and now you're using xenophobia.
Well, he's using all these big words as like a challenge
in a sentence. Where would you say we are now in the arc of this story, in the arc of this separatist movement? Is this the beginning, the middle, or the end? Is it going up or going down?
I think we are going to more decentralized in the future. I think a more decentralized country, even federal, could be a federal country like Germany, because it also has Germany is kind of the same like in Spain, that with a lot of different regions, and
right.
So I think we are tending to that thing, but not. I don't think breaking or the country. I don't think that. I don't think so.
Would there be lots of different laws? Because when you're federal, you're saying like basically passports and driver's like municipal things is the only reason I need this country for, and for the army. But overall, we're a different country. That's where we're going? But there's not like a specific law that's going to change. So it's going to be different things legal in Catalan than other places. Just that is that.
I think they want to protect a lot of things like culture things, like the language.
The language, okay. But it seems like the Spanish government's been pretty reasonable lately. They allow them to have the language, like they're trying to.
They actually teach it in schools and if you want to work in a public job in Catalonia, you must speak Catalonian.
Okay.
What about for you as a comedian?
Yeah.
When you're touring, are you doing this all in Spanish? Are you mixing languages? How does
because are there people who don't speak Spanish or pretend to not speak it in Catalonia that you have to?
I think Spanish, the language of Spanish is the more common. So all of my gigs I do it in Spanish. Even if I go to Galicia, I speak Galician too. But there are a lot of people from other parts of Spain in the place of the gig. So I just use that language because it's the more common. It's just like a utilistic thing. It's not like.
It's like Mandarin in China. Everyone speaks Mandarin, but then most people speak Mandarin and then also speak the language of their region, wherever.
That's it. I speak Spanish is my language, my usual language every day. And in the gigs, I use it because it's the more common in Spain. And that's it.
And comedy-wise, how long has like the modern version of stand-up comedy, how long has it been around in Spain?
The concept of
Like
stand-up comedy.
the stand-up comedy that you do, that I do, the modern style. How long has that been around in Spain?
Oh, I think it began in the 90s, maybe.
Okay, a long time.
El Club de la Comedia, and with Paramount Comedy Central. Comedy Central.
Yeah, it's now Comedy Central Spain. It used to be called Paramount
Comedy Central
Comedy.
Spain.
Yeah.
I think is the place where, I mean, almost all of the comedians in Spain came out from that TV show, that channel,
TV station. And you write on one of those shows? Is that right?
Yes, I'm from Comedy Central too.
Oh, you work? Okay. So do you work for them on all
Not
of their
now.
shows?
Not
or
now.
is it,
I used to, not now.
and how, what
Because
was that
now they are
model?
not doing stand-up anymore. I don't know why. They stopped.
Really? Comedy Central?
Yes. What?
Comedy Central doesn't have comedy?
That's not a
No,
stand-up
they don't
comedy.
stand-up.
No,
Stand-up comedy.
Why not?
they just
have
put
improv
friends
and,
in TV
Oh,
shows
God.
like
Puke.
Big Bang Theory or whatever. I don't
Oh
know.
my God. Our
But-
worst sports are.
Big Bang
But-
Theory. Oh my
Not stand-up comedy, not in Spanish at least. And
Does
so
MTV
they
still
stopped.
play music, or is that
Yes,
that ended
I
here in
think so.
America a long time ago?
I think so.
They do. So,
But are the different regions different for like the comedy crowds are different by region, or is like because I've been to Spain a couple times, and to me it's just like nightlife is, you know, it's like they all I don't know, is there a region where they don't start out late and go out all night and just party everywhere, or is that just that seems to be universal? So I would imagine that stand-up comedy could fit in nicely. Is there a region where you do more performing in, or
Yes,
or is it
there are a lot of gigs here,
Yeah.
stand-up comedy, but in TV they stopped kind of that, and now it
Yes, no
became
TV.
like more a urban movement or something like that. So you
That's
have
so-
a lot of comedy clubs in Madrid, Barcelona, but not so much in other regions with not so large cities. You know,
when did they stop doing it on Comedy Central? Stop putting on stand-up.
oh man, it's like 5 years maybe.
That's so crazy. The last
Nobody
5
watches
years
TV.
in America, stand-up comedy has been bigger than ever, like in the history of America. Really has. Live, in person, and on TV with Netflix and everything, you know. But Comedy Central is kind of dying in the United States too.
Oh,
Net-
it's dying there
Netflix-
too. So maybe that's the reason, because you know that it's
No one
just
really
a
watches
franchise, you know?
Yeah, they don't watch it that much.
Netflix and the internet? There's no
There's
that's the
other
problem.
places to watch stand-up comedy. YouTube. A lot of people just put it straight onto YouTube now.
I watch it in Netflix too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do
Yeah.
that. So what about for foreign policy? We've noticed, like, for example, we were watching this thing with Putin in Russia the other day, and some guy from the EU went to Putin and was saying, like, oh, you need to treat Alexei Navalny better. You need to treat these people better. And Putin said, well, what about the way you treat Catalan? You won't let them.
Oh,
using it.
I didn't knew.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
using
I didn't
Catalan.
notice that. That's
Yeah.
new.
So does that affect foreign policy? Like if
But you have a separatist.
if I am a president of a country and I don't want my people to separate, then I can't support separation in other countries. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. I don't know.
You hadn't heard that?
Putin is a guy who's capable of to do a lot of madness with
Of course.
a few words. But I don't know. Catalonians are not like a tribe in Spain. You cannot point them. You know, if you see 4 guys in front of you, you can't tell that's Catalonian, that's from Murcia, we are all.
It's not a race.
It's not like in other.
Well, I
countries.
can, but
You can.
I can. I have a great Catalan dar, but yeah.
So it's crazy for me to think that there is some ethnical prosecution or something like that.
That's not the way it is. It's the opposite. It's they want
You
to
know,
leave
like
'cause
the Chechens,
they think
or,
they're
yeah,
better.
Kurds.
Yeah.
But I understand that they did some, they go to the street, they have the right to say their opinion. And the police did a lot of, I think, mistakes with the Catalonian process.
With the violence
I
in
think that
2017.
violence shouldn't be there. I don't
Yeah.
know how that happened. It was a disaster. because that could be pacific. You know, they were. It's like you said, they weren't armed. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, they had a big fear that this movement escaped from the control of the government, and that's why I think that they overreacted. And separatists, that was the goal, you know, to make the government overreact. So they won. I think that
it worked. Well, you bring up a good point. You know, like in 2014. The Scotland, they had always talked a big game about wanting to leave Britain, right? And so then in 2014, Britain said, okay, fine, have a vote.
Shut up.
And they voted not to leave. Scotland voted to stay, to remain as part of Britain. Now they're changing, they might change now. But anyway, that's what they decided in 2014. And so Britain kind of won that by letting them decide, and they decided not to leave. Spain kind of did the opposite. And when Catalan had a vote, they kind of said, you're not allowed to have a vote, and we're going to, with violence, beat you down. And that just grew the movement. That seemed to grow the movement.
There's kind of a difference between Scotland and Catalonia because Scotland was a kingdom. It was a separate kingdom. Here we have the Aragon kingdom. And Catalonia is part of Aragon.
Yep.
So that means that all Aragon should vote if they live. For example, if it's the same of Scotland, that would be not Scotland, a part of Scotland.
I see. Oh, I see. So all of Aragon didn't vote in 2017.
Yeah.
Only the
they go
specific
just Catalonia, that is the part of that kingdom where they have this cultural separated thing, this language. They voted, but it's not the old kingdom.
I get it. Yep.
It's not all of it. You know, so it's like historical. They don't have like a reasonable reason to do this, to use that line to break the country in two. I don't know.
Kaplan, it would be like having to vote on gun laws in Texas, but only allowing Austin to vote. And then be like, we're outlawing guns because they don't want them in Austin.
And the rich suburbs of Houston. Yeah, but speaking of the Catalan, well, I have a question from earlier. We talked about France. What about Andorra? This is a country, right? Andorra is Catalan. They speak Catalan. So is that the same region? Are they the same people? Are they the same kingdom?
Well,
or is it
they also speak kind of a variation of the Catalonian. So they can speak to each other. They understand each other. But it's just a little village in the mountains.
But it's its own country, right? It's like, this is something I've argued about with people. This is a great, like, you want to impress people. Bring up Andorra. Nobody knows it exists.
Low taxes. So a lot of rich people from Spain, they go to live there. Because
it's a rich... Turner, hear that when you get your...
Yes, you go to live there.
I'm moving to Malta.
Money starts booming.
Everybody knows I'm moving to Malta. That's
Malta.
That's my tax haven of choice.
Well,
Spain's got lots of these places.
Our little Malta. Yes,
that's your little Malta.
Nice.
All right.
All right, great. So you think that this is going to be a slow? There's no one's leaving the country. Everybody settle down. There's no separatist thing.
Settle down, happen. New York Times.
But it'll be it's bad news for the New York Times. They don't get what they want. The liberal elites are not winning here. But they
just assumed, the New York Times probably just assumed that it's like the oppressed people. They didn't do any research.
Know. They don't do podcasts like we do. They don't talk exactly. So instead, it's going to be like a slow kind of leveling out of the powers. Maybe the states will get more power.
They have to put things in common, you know, just let them. There are a lot of things that they are asking for that are reasonable, you know, a lot of them. So why not? They have to be.
What are they asking for that's reasonable?
Yeah, be more independent economically. Economically.
Yeah, sure.
Or have more, control about the language between in their land. But I think it's a pity breaking the union itself. It's a pity for me, But they're gonna have more. They are gonna be more independent in the future. I'm sure, like the Basques or the other ones.
Okay.
But if we just keep the union, it could be great, because when you break that union, well, you remember Yugoslavia and all of that.
Yeah, that's not good.
Asia.
Yeah, a lot of
Not a
violence.
It's
Maybe
not a
they
good
should just-
future.
Just give them like a royal. They don't like the royal family. Maybe we should just make a Catalan princess or something. Find
Yes.
out a way to work them into the royal family.
Oh, yeah,
So
that
they-
would work.
they'll stake in
I
it.
think so.
Exactly.
Another
Just have a
question.
Prince marry a-
Is the area called Catalonia and the people are called Catalan? Is that how we say it? We got an hour
Catalan.
into this without knowing.
Yeah, they get
Well, in
basics.
Spanish is Catalunya, Catalunya,
Okay.
Okay.
and Catalanes, y Catalanas.
Oh, the
Girl.
people are Catalanas, and the
Catalanas.
territory is Catalonia. Well, that's good news, because if they separated, then everybody in Kaplan would know that in Barcelona they speak Catalan. But now only the educated few of us know. And we want to keep it that way. We don't want everyone
Yeah.
knowing what we know.
Exactly.
So, that's great. Well, thank you so much. That's the episode. Thanks, Danny. Thanks for doing
Oh,
it, man.
thank you guys.
This was great. We're gonna have to have you back to explain the Basques to me because I still don't get them.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other episode. We'll get
And
to
that's
the
another episode. We'll wait,
Basque country.
we'll wait till they blow something up or something. Then we'll.
Oh
figure it
boy, yeah, we don't want to get you in trouble. We don't want to get you killed for this. But Danny Boy-Rivera, check him out on Instagram at Danny Boy-Rivera. Tours all over the Spain when he's allowed to, and all over Europe as well, and hopefully in the United States sometime soon. Thank you so much for
I
doing
hope
it.
so.
A lot of,
Yes.
a lot of
To
the great
improve my-
Galician
my
restaurants
English
here.
before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Kaplan, that's it. What should we do?
Oh, we should go get lost. Adios. Adios. Oh, adios.